Hi, Ghosties. I'm Macy.
And I'm Natalie.
And we're coming to our end of a month full of listener stories.
We are.
This
And
is the last Monday.
Honestly, I've loved it, but I'm ready to move on.
Agreed. Like, this would be nice. Maybe like once a year we
do a whole
month. But I also miss the research and I miss other things.
And learning about new things.
And we've added about 18 new topics to our list this whole month.
I know. But I'm ready to switch it up a little bit. And I'm sure some people are. Some people are going to be like raging like, no, only the listener stories. But
yeah. Sorry. So to end our month, I figured we'd do it the same way we began it. And if you listen to the end of last week's
Thursday episode.
Yeah, if you listen to Thursday's episode, we told you the topic. Today it is Demons Part 2 because there were just so many demonic dealing stories sent in by all of you that I couldn't choose. And it was so hard. It's like, I want to tell all of your stories, like all at the same time. Like if I could just sit here on a live stream and just constantly read y'all stories, I would, okay? Can't. So this is the only other way.
All right. Well,
so it's going to be a spooky one. Lock in.
I'm nervous.
Buckle your seatbelt, as you say.
Yeah, I'm pretty nervous. My hands are sweating already and we haven't started talking.
Before we begin, our tea today is David's Tea Magic Potion. We're going to do a live magic potion here.
As you can see, I have limes because we didn't have lemons.
It has black currant, apple, butterfly pea flower, rosehip, raspberry, blackberry, stevia, natural flavorings for a blueberry, kiwi, and black currant. Okay.
Yeah.
But because it's a butterfly pea, it's called magic potion. And if you put some citrus in it, like a lemon or lime, it changes colors. And we're going to see that today. And we figured we'd show you too because we were very intrigued.
I'm going to be so upset if we're like, and nothing happens.
Or like your limes aren't very juicy. And
yeah, it's going to be. No, they are. They are. So let's go. All right. So we'll show the color before. It looks a lighter blue until it starts to all like come together and then it kind of looks like NyQuil.
But I like it. I like that blue color. You want to stir up your sugar first?
It's very pretty. Okay, pause for stirring noises.
It's blue now.
Yes.
It's supposed to be purple.
I want to try it first.
Do our magic over here.
Without the lime if it changes anything.
Okay, that's
Observe.
Refreshing.
You know what?
It's a good springy flavor.
I notoriously don't like anything. That's pretty good.
That's good. I think
I would drink this iced. This feels more
agreed.
Like a summery one. All right.
Agreed.
Are we ready? This is a big lime. Can everyone see? I'm nervous.
Hello?
Wait!
It's changing. Look at that at the bottom. Okay, hey, calm your screams. That's loud. Okay.
Oh,
right before our eyes. I really hope y'all can see that.
It's like pinky purple. I'll add more lime. I'll add more lime. We're really from Texas. Okay.
It's going to be really limey now.
That's okay. I like limes. Let me hide this little.
You going to stir it up or not?
I am.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's like more pink color.
Oh, magic. Wow.
What an experience.
Observe. Oh, that's hot. That is so cute.
I am thoroughly enjoying this.
Yes.
Sorry.
I'm having fun. We should just do a science channel.
Like, this is enough for me. Like, we can end it here.
Yeah. I sit. Watch nobody be able to tell.
I know it's just going to be black and then a lighter black.
I know. I'm trying to see.
But take our word for it. It is now purpley. And and this one was blue. If you can kind of see it from that. I don't know. Compare the colors. No.
Everyone's going to be like, no.
I'm so sorry. I really hope you can see it. Should take pictures. That was a very, very long process. But
all right.
If you can't see it here, we have pictures that we've inserted by now. I'm happy.
We have to start a science channel.
That was really cool.
It's another thing we don't know anything about, but we can make it work.
Too limey? You want to pour some more?
No, it's okay. That's a lot of lime.
You probably should have kept it with just the one lime.
Yeah, but it made it better.
Pretty.
It is really cute. I love that. I wish all teas changed color.
Me too. That was neat.
It really was.
All right. Now
but I'm probably not going to drink it.
Horror of the day.
Something so light and now darkness.
Our first story comes from Bree, and they wrote, trigger warning for talking about unaliving. And again, I'd like to say in the description, we will have resources if you or anybody you know is suffering with or dealing with any mental health issues, particularly thoughts of suicide. There will be links in the description for hotline numbers, and you can call. Please get some help if you need help, because we all want you here.
Yes. And this is like totally random and you can cut this if you want, but something I think about and talk to with people about if they've ever expressed that is like, you don't even know if your favorite song has come out yet. Stay. Yeah. Know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of good songs that come out.
There's always
And if
more
you
to
leave, and if you leave, like, you won't get to hear that song.
and it will always get better.
Agreed.
So Bree said, "Hey y'all. So this story is super long, but I promise it's scary AF and worth reading. My name is Bree, and my story takes place, I want to say, my junior or senior year of high school. Anyways, one night after school, I had fallen asleep in my mom's room. I was really tired after gymnastics practice, and since it was only me and my mom in our household at the time, it wasn't uncommon for me to sleep in her bed. I remember her coming into her room around 9 p.m. asking if I was staying in her bed for the night, or if I was going to my room. I was already super comfy in her bed, so I said, I'll just stay here. Your bed is comfier. And I fell asleep. Let me make it clear that this all happened in my dream. So in my dream, I woke up. And as soon as I wake up, I get a super uneasy feeling. Something is in the room, and it's not good. For reference, let me explain the layout real quick. The bed is in the middle of the room against a huge window with 2 or more windows on the right-hand side, a dresser and a small closet on the left, along with the entrance and a TV and another nightstand across the bed. Next to the TV, there is a clock. Okay, so I wake up in my dream, feeling uneasy, and I sit straight up. I look at the clock, and it's 6:33 a.m. I'm scanning the room, looking for whatever is making me feel uneasy, but there's nothing. I nudge my mom, who is facing away from me towards the 2 windows, and say, "Mom, there's something here." Her being very Catholic mumbles, "You're okay, mija. Just pray, and you'll feel better." This went on for a few minutes, and so I eventually turn the other way, towards the dresser and closet, and start praying. But I can't shake the feeling that something is still there, watching me. Suddenly, I feel something shift by my feet. I'm turned on my side still, and glance toward my feet when I see it. It was a black, humanoid creature thing, hunched over by my feet. It almost looked like when a cat hunches over when it's scared or provoked. As I make eye contact, I notice it has bright red eyes, and it slowly begins to smile at me with white, sharp teeth. I instantly start freaking out, and start elbowing my mom in the back to wake up. I'm elbowing her for about 10 seconds and she's not waking up. Finally, I get scared and mad enough that I elbow her super hard to wake her up, and when she finally wakes up, she spins around to look at me. Except it wasn't her.
No.
It was that thing super close to my face, smiling, and all it said was, "Just effing kill yourself already." Then I actually woke up in real life. When I looked at the clock, it was 6:33 a.m. Needless to say, I was terrified and couldn't sleep for hours. I thankfully haven't had a dream like this since, knock on wood, and I never want to. I've always been pretty sensitive to spirits and energies and have even had a few premonition dreams. I dreamt my best friend was in labor and she called me the next day saying she went into labor that morning, which was night for me because I was overseas, and a few others. I have plenty more stories, but this email is already super long, so let me know if you want to hear more. Anyways, I'm so happy I found you guys. I also listened to 2 Girls, 1 Ghost. If you haven't listened to them, you def should. And your videos came up on my recommended watches after I caught up on their channel. I can't wait to hear all the spooky stories you'll tell and watch you guys grow. Happy hauntings, Bree.
Okay. First. Huh?
Yeah, that one's
What?
so... To be expecting it to be your mom.
I knew
and
it.
It's the thing
I
that's
knew
terrorizing you.
As soon as she said she was facing away, I knew. I was like, oh no, that's not her mom. And then hunching like a cat.
I don't like it.
I'm
I don't like
scared.
any of it at all. And like it was telling her to do horrible things, and it just...
That is so dark. That's one of the darkest, that's probably the darkest dream we've ever heard.
Possibly. One of them. We've had a few, like the one where the mom had to like watch someone saw her child's arm off and stuff.
Oh,
Yeah, that was dark.
Jesus.
We've had a few pretty dark stories,
I
but
forget some of the more horrible ones.
yeah, that one was pretty bad though.
That would make me never want to sleep again. I would be so...
Waking up at 6:33 a.m. and you're like, is this happening again, you know?
No, oh my God. Imagine if there would have been something there when she actually woke up. I'm glad there wasn't.
Me too. And I'm sorry you experienced that, but that was terrifying.
Oh yeah, I'm freaked.
Yeah.
I'm spooked. And that was story number 1.
Story number 1, starting off strong.
Okay, I gotta put my seatbelt on.
Also, she mentioned 2 Girls, 1 Ghost. I didn't know about half of the paranormal podcasts before we started.
Mm-hmm.
Like we started and I was like, maybe I should like look out and see what else is out there and make sure that we're like, you know, we fit in and we are, you know,
Yeah.
vibing with everyone. And I found them and they are actually pretty good. And they've been doing it for a very long time. So
Really?
there is some scary stuff out there. There's a lot of really good ones. My favorites, I think, are The Exorcist Files. That's a really good one.
You've talked about that one
Yeah,
before, I
and
think.
Heart Starts Pounding.
Yeah.
Those are my top 2.
I've only heard of them because of you, because I keep the spook contained to this
Here?
space. Yes.
I don't blame you.
Because if I listen to all these podcasts, which like I'm sure they're all fantastic. If I listen to them,
Yeah, there's some really good ones out there. Like the 2 I mentioned, 2 Girls, 1 Ghost. There's some really good ones out there. So share the love. If you really enjoy this and you need more while you're waiting for more ghosties, There are so many good podcasts out there, and let them know we sent you over there.
I will not be coming over, but I'll stay here. I'll wait for you.
We'll support you while you're gone.
Yes.
So our second story comes from Kai. Hello, I found you guys right at 15K, and now you've doubled that. I can't wait to still be cheering you on when you inevitably hit 100K.
When did that email get sent?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't write the date down.
Because we've tripled it.
That's wild.
That's really scary. It's intimidating. I was texting one of my friends, Nicole, and because we were just like kind of catching up, and I was talking about all this stuff I have going on, how I'm like kind of like barely treading water with all the things I have going on. And I mentioned like, oh, now Ghosties is growing. And whenever I said that, she was like, oh my God, 50K, like that's crazy. Like you're almost there. And then it made me feel like exposed. There's a lot of people watching.
Yeah. Well, 100K, I just want the plaque, and then we can just
we'll retire.
Move on.
We'll be done.
No, we won't. I'll still have fun.
No, but I want the plaque, and I want to dance around it like on the Scooby-Doo, where they're dancing around the fire. I mentioned Scooby-Doo a lot. I think that movie really shaped me as a person.
I think it did too.
But like, you know how they're like,
yes.
That's what I would do around the plaque.
Okay, anyway, y'all are hilarious. You are hilarious. You're the funny. So our dynamic here is like Natalie is the funny comic relief, and I am just here to give Natalie the information to react to. I feel like I'm just the conduit for your humor.
I gotta stop going on tangents. You say that, but I think I'm the annoying one.
You're doing a great job.
Thanks.
I truly believe you are doing a great job. Thanks. The pod is so comforting. It feels like I'm just hanging out with good friends. I'm wishing you both all the success and happiness in the world. Now, on to the terror.
Thank you.
My grandpa, as a 20-something young man, dabbled in the occult for a brief period. While he personally came out unscathed from this time in his life, the women in our bloodline did not. He summoned something. I guess you might call it a generational demon. It started terrorizing my grandma, then my mom and Tia, skipped right over my older brother, and when I was around 2 years old, my turn began.
My chest just got tight.
First, I'll describe... Okay, this is funny. Okay, sorry. First, I'll describe what it looks like so you know what to picture. You know the live-action Scooby-Doo with Matthew Lillard, where they go to Spooky Island?
I do, Kai. I actually do.
It has a similar body to the tall, skinny red monsters from that movie. Large hands with long claws, about 7 feet tall, and impossibly thin. Where they differ is the head and skin color. Mine has bold blue skin. It's actually a beautiful deep shade of blue. His head is large and squarish, and it comes to a sharp, jagged point in several places. Oh, and he doesn't hunch over like the Scooby-Doo monsters. He stands straight up.
Dude,
how funny.
I
forgot about that.
I have a gift. I know what's about to happen.
That's scary.
Wow,
That's terrifying that she sees that in real life, though.
Oh, that is. But I'm trying to distance that out of my brain.
Are you vindicated?
I am. Because every time we talk about a tall creature, I'm envisioning the Spooky Island creatures.
Secondly, I'll list some of the frequent occurrences that happen often and don't warrant their own story. Cabinets and doors opening and closing by themselves. The door to the garage unlocking itself at night. Heavy footsteps in the attic. Our attic is very small, crawl space. No one could stand in it, let alone walk or run. Knocking coming from the inside of my fiance's closet, like it's standing inside the closet knocking to be let out.
No.
Something invisible sitting or lying next to me in bed. Something slowly and deliberately pulling the blanket off of us. It often confronts me in my dreams, giving me frequent nightmares. Some of these are interesting, so let me know if you'd like me to write in with the greatest hits.
Yes.
But we want to hear all of your nightmares. Let's interpret them together. Let's have a live session where we interpret our dreams.
Yes.
Coming soon to Patreon.
We say
Maybe.
that. We say that and then there's no Patreon ever.
I know.
We get too scared.
Waking up with bruises or cuts on my wrists and ankles. And finally, before we really get into it, I'd like to mention a few things. I like that these are just like the quick hits and they're terrifying all on their own.
The bruises and the wrists, the ankles and the wrists.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like you're being tied down. That just made my inside of my skull itch.
How do you
I don't know, but
itch?
it like scared me.
Okay.
It's in like a wave.
Honestly, I am getting really scared right now. I feel like I just took a few shots of like espresso and this is caffeine-free tea.
I was going to say, this is decaffeinated tea.
I've really tried to get rid of it. I've had my home blessed several times and done many incense and sage cleansings, but nothing works. At my previous apartment, my neighbor's pastor asked him to warn me of something evil attached to me, and he offered to bless me in my home. The pastor knew my name despite never meeting me. He said someone came to him in a dream and told him about me.
No.
A few years ago, my friend had a witch come do fortune telling for me as a birthday gift. She arrived at my home and told me she was sorry, but the spirit she communicated with in her work refused to come, so she couldn't do my reading. They told her they were afraid of the old evil thing that clung to me. She gave me a protection spell in a jar and left. I have to assume she was legit. I've never posted about my experiences online or anything before, so there was no way she could have known before meeting me. Sorry, I know this email is already quite long, but I have 20 years worth of experiences.
No, keep going.
For the sake of brevity, I'll just tell you a few experiences from a particularly active year. Number 1, I was laying in bed reading one evening with only the lamp on the nightstand for light when suddenly the room went pitch black.
No.
I set down my book and picked up my phone, turning on its flashlight. I saw that my lamp had come unplugged. I figured maybe the plug had just fallen out of the slightly loose outlet, so plugged it back in and began reading again. After just a few moments, the room went dark again, but this time the cord had been pulled underneath my bed. Not like it had fallen out of the outlet and just happened to land slightly under my bed, but truly the cord had no slack left. It had been pulled under my bed as far as it could go without pulling the lamp off the stand.
No.
My bed frame wasn't very tall, so I had to lay flat on the ground and reach my arm under the bed until I was shoulder deep. I had propped my phone against the nightstand to help me see, but it fell over light side down, so I was blindly searching with my fingertips for the plug. Sure that at any moment something was going to grab hold of my arm and pull, but thankfully it didn't. I found the plug, but in the end I decided to leave the lamp unplugged and turn on every other light source in my room. You may be wondering, why didn't I just get up and turn my bedroom light on in the first place before searching for the plug? Or why I wouldn't just reel the cord back to me from the part of it that was not under the bed? The answer is because I'm an idiot. And at the moment, I really didn't think of either of those things.
I was going to ask, but I was like, surely there's a
There's
reason.
She's like, I have to make this as scary as possible.
Oh my God. But no, hey, honestly, when you're like
In those moments, you don't think, no.
you do some crazy stuff, because I would be too scared to move. I'd be throwing things at the light switch hoping that it would turn on.
Just close the book and it's like, it's bedtime now.
No, I would be like trying to slowly turn on the light, like from afar. I'm throwing everything.
I used to, when we were younger and I was really scared, I used to like dream of having the clap on lights.
No, because what if you hear someone clap?
Off? Okay,
No.
that'd be scary. But I was like, I don't want to get up. I wish I could just...
Yeah, me too. But my thing is, I don't have to worry about that because I can sleep with lights on. When Ryan's not home, I sleep with every light on in the house. I don't turn my bedroom light off.
I do too. When Jake's gone,
Right.
he comes home, he's like, every single light was on. I was like,
Yes,
you gotta do what you gotta do, man.
purposely.
Number 2, I was sleeping on my side with my back to the door and the rest of my room. My bed was in the corner. I always left my door open so my dogs could come and go as they pleased while I slept. One night, I was woken up to the sound of our little Boston Terrier crying, which wasn't unusual. To this day, our Boston will cry until she's invited up onto the couch or bed. We don't know why she does this. It's a habit she's had since she was a puppy.
She's a
just like,
vampire.
please.
She has to be invited.
She can jump up herself. You just need to either pat beside you or say something like, come on, or get up.
Vampire.
Maybe. So, without even opening my eyes, I pat my hip a few times. She doesn't jump up and continues crying. With my eyes still closed, I say, come on, Lucy. She's still on the ground crying. I start shifting to sit up while at the same time calling out, oh, Lucy, I open my eyes and see Lucy right in front of me, dead asleep.
No.
And right next to her is my other dog, Jax, sleeping peacefully as well. I slowly lay back down without saying another word. The crying distorts. It no longer sounds like my beloved pup. It sounds strange, like desperate, painful gurgling. Then it stops for a moment. When the noise starts again, it's no longer crying. It's growling. I know it wants me to turn around. I can feel that is what it wants. I began to cry silently. I was truly afraid for my life, afraid to make a sound, afraid to move. I start hearing creaking and popping sounds, like 10 people standing behind me cracking their knuckles, and this unusual creaky sound. The noises are from him dropping the facade and standing straight up. It's now looming over me. I can feel heat radiating from it. I stared at its shadow, silent tears pouring down my face for what I believe was 2 or 3 hours. Finally, I couldn't fight it anymore. I was exhausted and my eyes were worn out from crying. I fell asleep. I remember as I fell asleep, I just kept thinking, I am going to die. But I didn't die. I woke up with bruises and cuts all over, and my face was incredibly swollen from crying. But I was alive, and after all that, I still had to get ready and go to school.
Oh.
Thank you for taking the time to read these. Both of these stories are from my sophomore year of high school. I know they may sound a bit fantastical, but I promise this is all unfortunately true. I obviously have a lifetime of experiences to share, so please let me know if you'd like to hear more. And of course, you're more than welcome to share any of this on the pod. Kai.
So disturbed. The dog whining and
the just the visual in my mind of it like distorting. You hearing it distort, turns to growls, and then it creaks and pops as it stands all the way up behind you, just waiting for its moment.
what would happen if you turn around? Like what?
Something more severe than the cuts and bruises she woke up with.
How many more pages of this do we have left?
That's like story
Are we
what,
almost
3?
done?
No, we are not done.
Oh my God.
Or even close.
I know, I'm sick.
That was a lot, and I'm so sorry that you've been dealing with that for your entire life.
I don't even know what to say. We joke about like maybe someone cursed our family in the past and that's why we have bad luck. I'm good.
Yeah.
We're doing great.
I've heard some people
It's fine.
who will get exorcisms when they have like a family curse like that. Not full exorcisms, obviously, because you're not being possessed, but when you have a generational curse like that and it's attached to you or your family, people will go to priests and have them do like certain kinds of exorcisms for you.
That's interesting.
And I don't know if you've ever done anything like that or your family, and maybe like to get rid of this generational demon.
If there is something you can do,
I
I don't know.
A thing, I don't know. And if there's anybody in the comments who has experience with this or knows any more about ridding yourself of a demon who's attached to you and your entire family, drop a comment.
This is out of our scope.
I'd like to help Kai get rid of whatever this is, because I do not like it.
Good
That's so scary.
Lord.
Our next story comes from Jessica. I don't remember most of these stories.
Jessica. That's what I think anytime I hear that name. Sorry. I'm
a good
trying
movie.
to lighten the mood because I'm really scared.
Yeah, I feel you. Like my heart.
What is that? The hot chick?
Yeah. I feel like I'm like shaking from the inside. Like it's going to come out of me, you know?
Okay.
You know what I mean? You ever get that feeling?
Yeah.
Like we've got the shivers on the inside. Like,
yes.
yeah. Okay.
All the time.
Hey y'all, sorry I keep sending so many emails, but watching your videos brings back these memories that I have tried to suppress, probably because they scare me so much. Send us all the emails.
And eventually we'll get to your other ones because
We
we
will.
go in order.
So these are 2 stories that happened when I was sleeping. The first one was when I was 13 years old. I was staying at my friend's house and she was really into spirituality and the occult, and we had played with a Ouija board in the house as background. I was fast asleep and I had a dream where I was surrounded by darkness and started screaming out of fear of something in the darkness. Other than that, I don't remember anything. At her house, I was prone to sleep talking, so I wasn't too surprised when she asked me if I remember screaming last night. I told her I screamed in a dream, but I wasn't awake. She went white and said, I had started screaming last night and shot up with a completely straight back. She, of course, was staring at me. I then turned to her and in a robotic voice said, I'm so sorry. Then flat back laid down. She said, once my head was back on my pillow, my body relaxed again, but she stayed up to keep an eye on me, thinking I was possessed. Again, I don't remember any of this except screaming in the darkness of a dream.
I would have called your mom and be like, come get your kid.
She can't stay here anymore.
No.
That's scary. Another night, I was at my house, and this home was both physically and energetically dark. I hated it. And knowing what I know now, I think there were demons in that house. My mom and I lived there alone, and it was a time in our lives of just being constantly angry at each other and the world on levels that we have never felt again in the years we have been away. I was 17 when this took place, and this was the first home where I truly could not sleep in the dark because it just gave me the creeps. I had a metal bed frame with slats in the headboard that were maybe 5 inches apart, and my bed sat like an inch away from the wall because of the baseboards. I was just about to fall asleep when I felt a hand grab the hair at my scalp and yank me towards the headboard. I shot up and tried to convince myself that it was just a dream, but my head was pounding from where it had hit the slats on my headboard. Then I thought maybe it was an involuntary movement and I did it to myself. But the way I was laying down, there was no way I could have reached that part of my head and pulled down through my headboard. I ran to my mom's room and slept with her and my dog that night. Every night after that, my dog started sleeping with me on his own, which was odd because he never really slept with me. Mostly because I had a tiny twin bed and he was a 100-pound husky / golden mix that I had to spoon for both of us to fit. And he would get on and off of my bed to switch sleeping on the concrete floors to cool down. I didn't have another experience of touching after that night, but the house still scared me and felt extremely dark. My mom also would wake up with scratches, some deep and bleeding a lot.
Oh my God.
But she always seemed convinced that she just did it to herself, but I'm not so sure. Stay safe and spooky, Jessica.
We don't deserve dogs.
No, he's coming to protect you.
He knew you were scared of something. He knew you didn't feel good. So he was like, you know what?
Pulled down and back behind the bed.
And you know what? My current headboard is just flat. There's nothing. And I want like a nice iron bed because I think they're very pretty.
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm real good with just nothing.
Straight across so nothing can reach you.
But me personally, if that happened to me, I would 100% convince myself without any doubt that I did it to myself.
You'd have to. You have to sometimes, yeah.
I could not let myself go there. It's too much.
I don't know if I'm hungry or if I'm just really scared already, but I feel sick to my stomach.
Yeah. I generally feel that way when you come over here to do this.
I'm sorry to bring that upon you all the time. Sort of. Our next email comes from Anonymous.
Ooh.
Hi, lovies. I discovered your YouTube channel maybe about a week or 2 ago and have been binging your videos since. I love how comfy and cozy you make creepy stuff sound. So I've been putting it as background noise while I paint. Your most recent video on October 17th, specifically Krista's haunting dream story, opened up a memory of a dream I had locked away. This would have happened around 2018-2019, shortly after my father passed away, and I was in a really bad headspace. I'm a firm believer that when you are in a weak state of mind, you are open to negativity.
Agreed.
Also me, yeah. And I also believe that mirrors are portals and they just give me an ick even to this day. Well, combine sleeping across a closet with mirrored doors, depression, insomnia, and the belief of the supernatural, and you have a ticking time bomb. On this night, I must have been tossing and turning until close to 2 or 3 a.m. I wasn't asleep, but I wasn't awake at the same time and started to have an almost out-of-body experience. I could see myself sleeping in my bed with my back to the mirror. Suddenly, I felt a burning sensation from the nape of my neck all the way down my spine. I looked to the mirror and I watch a thin, bony, gray creature crawling out. As soon as the creature creeps out of the mirror, my body feels paralyzed, like fingers tingling and everything. My throat is tight, as if I couldn't breathe. The creature crawls its way over on its hands and feet and climbs on top of me. Its hands and legs were on either side of my body, caging me in. Leaning its face down to meet my own. It pulled a cruel, sharp-toothed grin and began to speak in the voices of my loved ones, as if shuffling between the voices of my deceased dad, mom, and older brother. It didn't sound exactly like them, very scratchy, like some old-timey record player. I can still remember what it said. You are worthless. You're stupid. You're a fat pig. You deserve to die. You should kill yourself.
Oh my God.
No one loves you. Your father didn't love you. Your mother doesn't love you. Your brother doesn't love you. I could do nothing but cry in this frozen, sleeping state as the creature laughed and taunted. Though, as it began to speak again and continued its taunting, it said my brother's name. For some reason, that clicked something in the back of my mind. Still having this wild, out-of-body experience, I can hear myself starting to speak, starting to scream. You don't know me. You don't know my family. Get out. Get out. Get the F out. The creature seemed to pull away, growl, and creep off the bed. As soon as it does, I wake up. I sit up in bed, shuddering breaths, panting for air, my throat hoarse from screaming, and tears still running down my face. I turn to my right towards the mirror and just stare at the dark silhouette of myself for a long minute. After some time, I forced myself to lay back down and fell back asleep. I haven't had another tense experience like that again until recently.
Oh no.
Let me know if you want to hear more. Much love and light. Anonymous.
You know what? Normally I would say, why? No, I'm good for now. Tell me that later. Tell me your extra one later, because that
was so terrible.
Why are we having things come and say such horrible stuff in the dream? Twice.
That is why, to me, it is demonic.
Yeah.
Because they, like, demons will try to make you be in the lowest state possible. Because you're easier to act upon. You're easier to feed on, for lack of a better word, you know? When you're at your lowest and your weakest, spiritually and mentally.
Yeah.
And so they want you there and they want to keep you there. I'm so glad that they had that out-of-body experience and was able to see this and be able to get themselves out of this, you know? And they realized, like, get out. You don't know me. You don't know my family. You know nothing. And you don't belong here.
Well, I like that. I wish I could say that in like a customer service setting, though. Like, get out of here.
Yeah.
Sorry. I'm trying to lighten the mood. I feel very
I like that one.
good.
I like that ending, except for the fact that they had another experience. But yeah, I like the ending of that one.
Yeah.
I'm sorry
a lot of these
experienced that.
people are a lot stronger than me.
I don't know. You never know. If you were in that situation, you might.
And I don't want to find out.
No.
I'm not welcoming anything. I am closed off
We're good. Love and light.
from all external things.
Our light bubble is expanding out and pushing all the negativity. I like your hand movements. For those of you who are on audio only.
Sorry.
Our next story comes from Ariya. Hello guys, I enjoy your pod so much. When listening to stories about dreams and general spooky happenings, I thought I'd share my story with you guys. So when I was 18, I had an extremely unusual and vivid occurrence. For some background knowledge, this story occurred at my grandparents' house, a house they built in the 70s in an area on the central coast of California. Then so rural, there were only dirt roads, tons of eucalyptus trees, and no neighbors. I have no idea the history of the land, but based upon my experience and the experiences of my other family members, I have to assume there is some energy there. Back to the story. When I was 18, I moved into a different bedroom in my grandparents' house. Everything was going great, and I was happy to have a space of my own after sharing bedrooms my whole life. The same day I moved my stuff in, I took a midday nap. Oh my God, I just remembered this story, and this is a bad one.
Oh God, I just got my legs extended again. I'm gonna have to crawl back up, huh?
Yeah. Okay, I'm so sorry. Okay. I just had a visceral reaction.
Okay.
The same day I moved my stuff in, I took a midday nap. During this nap, I had my very first sleep paralysis experience. It wasn't terribly unusual from other stories I've heard. I was able to look around my room. As I stated, this was a daytime nap. So it was daylight in my room, with the curtains open, and the sleep paralysis was accurate in that it was also daylight. This will be relevant later. I wasn't able to see the best. It was sort of like viewing yourself both in first and third person at the same time. I didn't see anyone this time. I just felt a presence. It was aggressive, and I just knew It was a female presence. It was like she was hovering over me, not touching me, but nonetheless pinning me to the bed. I struggled in the dream, thrashing about, trying to fight it. I wasn't able to speak, but in my head, I thought, "You bee, get off of me." She did not like that. The dream quickly ended. The following night, I was going to bed. Very normal circumstances. Nothing out of the ordinary. Late into the night, I suddenly awakened. The lights were on. The TV was off. I looked around the room confused. It felt like total consciousness and clear first-person point of view. Completely real feeling. I then started to hear nails stretching down the hallway, slowly coming towards my bedroom door, which was now opened. I started crying in my dream, terrified of what would come next. When the being got to my door, she placed her long, dirty hand on the door frame, wrapping her fingers over it so I could see her dirty, long, and chipped fingernails. I was hysterical, the absolute most terrified I ever was, and didn't think someone could handle this level of terror. She crawled into my room, slowly, making eye contact with me and smiling. She was wearing a long, white, dirty nightgown, and her hair was down and stringy wet. Think the first Exorcist movie.
No, I won't. I won't think.
I closed my eyes tight and cried. She crawled up to my bed. I could feel the weight of the mattress shifting and the squeaking of the springs. I opened my eyes and she was on top of me. Warning, it's about to get gross. If you're eating, skip this. She was smiling. I couldn't look away. She proceeded to throw up on me, projectile vomiting a hot, smelly liquid all over me. She smiled and began to lick up the vomit that was all over my stomach and legs. I cried more. Just then, I heard banging from the attic in the distance. It was hard and loud bangs like someone was trying to get out. She looked up at me, smiling, and told me, "Mama is coming," and crawled backwards off my bed and out of my room. As soon as she left the door, I woke up. I woke up sobbing, terrified, gripping my chest. I turned the lights on and called my mom. I never did ever see her appear in my sleep paralysis dreams again. It felt like she was angry I called her names and got aggressive with her the previous day when I had that midday nap. I told my grandma about it. She's a woman who believes in Mexican black magic. She called her friends and told them my dream. They were equally worried about what it could mean. I know my grandma handled it with some kind of spell or cleanse, and I never saw her again. This whole experience was so unusual for me, as I had never been afflicted with sleep paralysis before or since. She was sending me a message, and it was received.
I feel like I'm in labor. Have I ever had a kid? No, but I feel like
this goes on the list.
I feel like
this
my
goes on the
organs
list.
Want to come out of my body, out of all my orifices.
So, Ariya, you did it.
I don't want to talk about it anymore.
You want to move on?
Oh my god, you said skip if you're eating. I'm gonna eat later.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Thank God.
I hope no one skipped and immediately went to that part, you know?
Oh my god.
I had to pause, so you aren't going to see this because I'm going to cut it. But Natalie had a moment where she told me stop because she was gagging and about to throw up on herself.
I have a really weak stomach, okay?
She can't handle, like, if you burp around her, she's going to gag.
I wish you wouldn't even said the word.
Sorry, the thought of that makes her want to gag. So that was a lot for Natalie, and I'm sorry. That was a lot for me. Mama is coming.
I feel like I'm gonna cry. Like, I keep wanting to, like...
Mama is coming. Banging from the attic. Who is Mama? I'm glad her grandma could handle it, you know?
Yeah.
Do you want to move on?
Yeah.
Okay. Our next one.
I don't like that one. I really did like it. Like,
okay.
What you described, like, if that was happening in a movie, I would turn the movie off. I'm not kidding. Like, that's when I'd be like, okay.
That's a lot. We'll move on. The next one is interesting, and you're going to find so interesting. And
Me?
It's good for you. Yeah. It's from twins.
Ooh.
Yeah. They wrote in their experiences together. It's Caro and Eliza.
That's very interesting. I'm sorry. I still don't feel well.
We'll try and move on a little bit. These two twins, they wrote it in such an interesting way, and I felt like I was having a conversation with them while I was reading, and it's long, but there are some really good stories. I'm really excited about this one. Greetings and salutations. We are preemptively apologizing for what you are about to learn. Eliza is feeling a little heavy-hearted about the burden you are about to bear. Be strong, soldier. You've got this.
I salute with
you.
tears coming down my face. Okay.
You've said repeatedly that you want all of the stories. Well, here is every story we can recall of actually hearing or seeing something. There's more that have to do with the uncanny feeling of knowing there's something off, so let us know if you want to hear them. Feel free to share this on the pod, but don't feel obligated and share every story. We know it's long, and we're not sorry. And we're not sorry either because we're sharing it all.
Thank you.
To start, we are fraternal twins, Caro and Eliza. Caro is 20 minutes older. This is not important outside of her desire for middle child status. Fraternal twins are not genetically identical. We are about as similar as regular siblings. We are both in agreement that while identical twins share the telepathy connection, we have the opposite effect. We split it. Caro is not one to encounter any unusual things. She blames Eliza for that. We are opposites in a lot of ways. Not personality or interests, but physically. Growing up, Caro had corkscrew curly hair and Eliza's was stick straight and unable to hold a curl. Eliza's always been way taller than Caro. It's settled in at a 5-inch difference.
Wow.
That's a big difference for siblings, especially.
Yeah.
Caro is a picky eater and Eliza likes most foods. Eliza is, quite literally, mildly, allergic to everything, and her body will develop allergies if she's around new things too much. Caro is the only person in our entire extended family to have no known allergies. Caro needs glasses and had braces, rubber bands, headgear, and an expander to fix her teeth and jaw. Eliza has basically perfect teeth and no real need for glasses. Eliza looks more like our dad, and Caro is a spitting image of our mom. Caro has a few rather large birthmarks on her back, and Eliza has none. And those are just some of the physical differences. We've always joked that we pass traits around while in the womb, taking all or nothing of each option.
That's really cool.
That's cute.
Yeah.
The trait you'll find the most interesting is encountering the paranormal. Caro has had few and far between meetings with anything that can be construed as unusual. She does not see things in the dark. She does not hear them. Eliza does. When Eliza comes and tells Caro about them, Eliza has her own theories on what is a nightmare, or her eyes playing tricks in the dark, or what something is. She isn't always sure which ones were real or what they mean, but Caro knows. She gets a feeling in her chest and a certainty when she knows what it is. Two sides of a coin, or something like that. So we're going to give you our accounts in our own words with our twins' commentary at the end of each story. We'll start with Caro's and ease you in since she's barely a fourth of this content. Caro's hoping you're drinking a ginger tea to settle your stomachs. Writing these down has made ours turn. I kind of wish we were.
Oh my God.
Or peppermint or something.
Definitely not ginger though. Have you watched the pod? That was the worst tea I've ever had in my life. I
have it on video of you trying it and you're like, dude.
I was watching a video the other day. It was like someone talking about how YouTube used to be in like 2010, just like the
Wild West.
Yeah, that and like the vlogs that girls used to make. It was like, I'm getting out of the car and then I'm gonna lock my car and I'm walking in the house and then I'm gonna pour my tea. And like,
I feel like that was our vlog for our field trip.
Yeah, it really was. No, but like it was just one of those. And I was watching this video of this, I have no idea who it is, and she was like, and then I make my ginger snappish tea. It's my favorite tea.
Hey, some people like it. We can't knock.
This girl has a sinister energy and I have to scroll.
We can't knock other people's joy, okay?
I'm not. I'm just, for me, no thanks.
Okay. Caro's stories. When I was 6 years old, my family went on a vacation where we rented a house with my extended family, and we're right next to some family friends' rented houses. So there were approximately 6 families between these two houses. I have some photos from that trip, but it was 18 years ago, so I don't remember much. Most of it comes back in snapshots of moments or vague memories of memories. I remember finding out my brother got pulled into a riptide while my mom, Eliza, and I were at the store. I remember learning how to dance from some of the older girls and kicking sand into the eyes of the boys when they tried to spy on us. And I remember this. I was walking up the stairs of the house. I can remember the quiet of the house that had been so lively all week with all my family around. I was sad because it was our last day there and my family was leaving soon. I heard my cousin call my name from the top of the stairs when I was halfway up. It was the kind of tone you use when you're asking someone to come here. I stopped and went back down the stairs to the kitchen where I knew my mom was. I interrupted whatever conversation she was having with a family member and told her, Mama, I just heard Selena call my name. My mom shook her head and told me I must have been imagining it. You see, my cousin's family had already left when I heard my name called. They had been gone for hours. Now this is Eliza's commentary. I cannot believe that her immediate thought was, that's not right, and went to tell an adult. I would have thought they left Selena and went up to find her. I had not yet learned the rules of Appalachia. It's definitely pronounced Apple-at-ya. And don't get Caro started on the stupid stuff she's done in the Appalachian woods alone. But those stories don't feature here, as nothing happened that she saw.
Oh my gosh.
Fun fact about me, I rarely dream. Mostly I will dream when I'm in between waking up and sleeping.
This is Caro?
This is Caro again.
Okay.
Yes, sorry. Even more frequently, if I sleep on a couch, I dream, which I attribute to not being able to hit the REM cycle as well as I would in a bed. Very rarely are they ever good. Although I do remember being 6 and visiting heaven through giant ABC blocks. That was a good dream. My twin, on the other hand, dreams nearly every night. When we were 12, we moved houses and it was the first time we weren't sharing a room together. The house itself was my grandparents' and my mom also moved there when she was 12. We bought it from them, so it wasn't a new space. We were still close to each other and were so excited to have our own rooms. We had the upstairs to ourselves, just our rooms and a bathroom branching off a small landing. I'll attach a sketch since the layout will be important. I hadn't completely unpacked. Specifically, I had dream catchers that I normally had hung over my bed that weren't up yet. Within that first month, I had 3 nightmares. One I thought was just a dream. I was with the main character in the book series I was reading. Shout out to Priscilla the Great by Sybil Nelson. And we were fighting 3 little demons on the landing between my twin's room and my own. This is Eliza's commentary again. I think it was just a dream, but it might have been a warning or something probing. I'll discuss later why the repetition of the 3s makes me uncomfortable.
I'm already uncomfortable.
Back to Caro. I don't remember the second, but the third, that's the one I want to share with you. I'll preface this by saying I wouldn't say this is one of those true dreams, but even if it was, I wouldn't be the one to ever see it outside of dreams, and I rarely remember those. The layout of my room is important to know for setting the scene. The door entering my room is on the edge of the west wall. In line with the door and along the north wall was my desk and my bed. Beside my bed on the east wall is a built-in bookcase. Following the east wall, there were 2 closets, both with doors. The first closet is normal. The second has a smaller doorway in the back wall that leads into the attic. The south wall is unremarkable with a dresser and a big mirror that I know y'all will hate, but never bothered me. You'll be interested to know in her new room, my sister never put the mirror up on her dresser.
Nice.
Along the west wall, before reaching the doorway, is another closet, this time with folding panel doors. In the context of the dream, the doorway with the room and my bed area weren't there. I was sitting in front of the panel door closet, watching as a girl paced and shouted to another person who stood in front of the second east wall closet. I can't remember what she was angry about. Something that we weren't allowed to do, that she thought we should be able to. I don't remember agreeing or disagreeing with her, more interested in what she'll do than what she's arguing about. I am apathetic and unconcerned with what is happening, but she is pacing in front of the open door of the first east wall closet. There is a mirror on the bottom half of the closet door that doesn't exist in real life, and I can't see myself in it. She is loud and getting louder, and I'm just watching, back and forth, angrier and angrier, until she reaches out and grabs the closet door, throwing it closed in her anger. I look into the mirror as it moves, showing me sitting on the floor for only a moment. Standing directly behind me is a girl with long, dark hair and dark clothes, but sickly pale skin.
Oh my God.
I can't see her face, but it's less like her hair is over her face and more like her head is tilted down towards where I'm sitting.
Oh.
I woke up with my screams still ringing in my ears. I honestly thought that I had screamed out loud, but no one heard me, so I'm not sure I made a sound. I couldn't fall asleep for a long time after that. I hung up my dream catchers the next day. I think it's important to note here that I have never seen the ring. Though there is a certain resemblance between her and the girl in my dream, I wouldn't even know what the ring girl looked like for a couple more years. This is Eliza's commentary. I find it interesting that there was no doorway out in the dream.
Mm-hmm.
It just shows that it was an imperfect replication, which is something that happens in my dreams of places that I am. It wasn't a dream that was actually happening in reality. It took place in the dream world, but something was trying to contact her, testing the waters, but it lost its hold when she saw the girl. Whereas when we get to my dream with her, you'll see a difference.
With her?
Back to Caro. Looking back now, I think it's strange that 2/3 of the nightmares took place in my new house, especially since the house was sold to us by my grandparents. So I had been going to that house my whole life. My aunt and uncle's family rented it for a couple of years, so I had even spent the night there many times. My cousins say there are things about that house that they won't tell us until we no longer live there. Unfortunately, Eliza is still there, so they won't tell me yet, even though I've moved out.
Dude.
I know, I need to know the backstory.
Dude.
Those are my stories. A whisper of a voice in a bad dream. I'm not one to see or hear much. I leave that to my twin gladly. I'm normally only left with strange feelings to guide me away when the atmosphere gets too strong, and my twin has begged to turn back many times, sensing it long before my deadened perceptions caught on. I've gotten better at listening to her. I know she's going to include some of her stories in here too, but I'm going to guess which ones she'll say before we sit down and write them out. My guesses: the man with the tall hat and the cat at our old house, the demon thing in her room, the angel in the woods, whatever is in the back garden at my parents' house, the screaming woman at my grandparents' old house, and something she's never told me before. I was spot on, even though she included a couple I had forgotten about. Now for Eliza's stories. Disclaimer: during some of these events, I was going through very traumatic events that have led to CPTSD. When PTSD presents in a child, the child can rationalize the symptoms as seeing monsters, waking nightmares, and hallucinations. This does not explain everything that I have seen or felt, as my PTSD presents differently than these. It feels different. It looks different. That's also why I rely on my sister to help discern what is real. There are some stories we haven't included because we know they were related to trauma. I've developed a system for figuring out what is real or not after some of the events I'll talk about. Also, I don't really see ghosts. I get feelings around places where other people have seen ghosts or places of high energy, but I don't see them except maybe when I was a kid. Pre-trauma. As a child, I was terrified of anything and everything. I did not watch horror movies. I had recurring nightmares, especially from the mummy movies. Those were scary, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever I would have a nightmare, I would wake up, get out of my bed, and stand in the doorway. My parents' room was about 6 inches from our door, but you had to step into the hallway to get to their room. And that hallway was terrifying. A few times after braving the hallway to reach the safety of my parents' room, I would fall asleep to the visual of a swarm of tiny skeletons climbing from their closet up to the bed frame and onto the ceiling. I counted them to fall asleep after a nightmare like they were sheep. A few times I would have to reach back and knock them off the headboard so they couldn't reach me. Caro's notes. The hallway was dangerous.
Ooh.
You had to be desperate to go to the bathroom or our parents' room. There was something watching, coming for you. We all just knew that if you went to the bathroom, you had to be back in bed before the toilet finished flushing because the sound muffled your own. Funnily enough, none of us had a conversation about that. We just all followed that rule. I never saw the skeletons in our parents' room, but I would never look up either. That's funny that they all had this unspoken rule that they all knew about and didn't know each other knew about it, you know?
It's not funny, but yeah.
Well,
I wouldn't use the word funny.
not like funny, haha. Like
funny,
funny,
I'm scared.
strange, yeah.
Like, I'm in danger. Funny.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so back to Eliza. I have also seen a hat man, but I wasn't high on Benadryl and he was just a man with a hat. I only saw him twice. The first time, he walked out of the closet in our room. He didn't pause or turn his head to look at me. He was just a tall shadow of a man with a top hat on. He walked straight out of our doorway and disappeared. His form bent around the furniture of our room, like he was just a shadow. The second time was much like the first, except he had a shadow of a cat with him. He paused as the cat walked in front of him. He seemed amused with it. I never saw him again, but I did see the cat a handful of times. This was after our childhood cat had died, and we didn't have a cat in the house anymore.
Aww.
Caro's notes. I think he was a ghost. I don't know the history of the house and who lived there beforehand, but he doesn't give me bad vibes. I think I agree because,
Me too.
especially after the cat passed, the cat was there too, like playing with
Just
him.
hanging out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't get bad vibes from that. And I was going to say, after the first one, whenever she was like, he didn't do anything, I was like, okay. Like,
No.
I don't feel crazy about that one.
He's just a spirit chilling.
Yeah. As long as he's not coming at you and he's just minding his business, like, that's fine.
Agreed. Back to Eliza. After we moved out of the house, even our mom admitted that the house felt strange when we left. She felt like she was being watched. We spent some time repainting and cleaning it, but no one liked being in there alone. Our older brother agrees with us that there was something there and it wasn't happy that we were leaving. It wasn't the man, but rather something that lived near the kitchen. Caro's notes. I drive by it sometimes, but Eliza and I both agree it's no longer welcoming to us. I don't think it would be happy for us to come back.
Oh my gosh.
Back to Eliza. Trauma has happened by this point. This next story comes at the same time that Caro was having her nightmares within that first month at our new house. I had no dreams that I can recall except for one, which, as you may remember, is unusual for me since I normally dream often, even to this day. In that dream, I woke up in my bed. I don't normally dream of the places that I live. When I do, they are significant. I sat up, and in front of me was a floating totem. It was gold and looked similar to a tiki face, but not quite, and it had wings on it. I thought it was exceedingly strange, but it was beckoning me and telling me to follow it. I knew that the voice was God's, so we flew through my window, and I was above my house looking down. It was as if he was telling me to stay and warning me to prepare for something. I don't remember what was said, but those were the feelings. When I woke up, I wasn't sure if it was God or something trying to imitate him, but I have never had that dream again. I can't help but think that it might have been warning me of the things to come.
Oh, I just gotta chill.
Caro's notes. I know what's to come, and it has my heart racing. I don't like that Eliza's telling me that while I had those nightmares, she didn't dream. Unusual for both of us. I don't like that she explained when her dreams take place in the places where she is. It's significant because my aforementioned dreams both took place in my bedroom area. And knowing what happens next, I don't like that it was testing me to see if I could be influenced. As for the voice, I think it was a warning. Maybe God or an angel with his message. It wasn't an imitation. I do find that strange. And is it maybe twin energy? Like where while one's dreaming, the other's not?
I don't know, dude.
And they're like sensing that danger is coming?
I'd be interested to know if they ever had any shared dreams.
Yeah.
Talk about all of your dreams right now.
Tell
Break
us
it down.
everything. The activity in our house had two main areas. My bedroom and the back garden. It is a large garden interspersed with many trees, and there's a fenced area in the back of it where my mom says they used to bury their animals. When we moved there, it was the first time I was allowed to walk around freely after the sunset, and I like to run to relieve stress. I didn't mind when the sun went down because there was a fence so no one could get in. I spent most of my time walking around the pool area where it was lit and going into the garden. That is, until I started seeing a pair of glowing eyes in the wooded area watching me. So I stopped walking down the paths in the garden after the sun went down. It's still back there, though it doesn't show me its eyes anymore. Caro's notes. When my grandparents lived there, we would have family nights and play hide and seek with our cousins. Eliza and I never hid alone back there. You could not force me to walk back into the garden by myself after dark. Back to Eliza. This leads into the second of the 4 dreams I've ever had about the place where I'm staying. In the dream, I was walking around the backyard and I ran deeper into the back to slip away from the house. I was looking for some peace and quiet, and it was broad daylight, so I wasn't scared.
This all makes a lot more sense now after seeing the picture, because whenever you were talking about like going further, I was like, in the backyard? But now I can see it's
a yard.
A large plot of land. It's not okay.
There was nothing in the back, and it wasn't much neater than the garden was in reality. As I reached the fence part of the back, the light had shifted from a warm yellow to a light like being deep in the forest, bluer and filtering through the leaves. I could no longer see the house, only trees and paths. I looked over and saw a figure walking towards the small gazebo we have. I wasn't scared. It was more eerie. There were no birds singing. Neither of us made a sound. I followed her until she stopped and turned to face me. She was pale, with long black hair, and in a simple white dress. She stared intently at me, like she knew something I didn't. And then suddenly I was in another nightmare. I would flash back to her after I would see her in the story, and she would lead me to another nightmare and another. She led me through nearly 30 stories.
Oh my God.
I tried to write them all down once, but they remain only through glimpses of memories now. At the end, I was tired. Each nightmare felt so real. I asked her which one was her story, and that's when she smiled. I never felt scared with her until she smiled. That's when I woke up. There was something wrong with her smile, like it showed too many teeth. But she let me go. Caro's notes. Does that sound familiar to you? An unnerving story being shared, but not feeling scared, and a long dark-haired girl behind it. Yeah, Eliza never told me about this one. I feel absolutely sick to my stomach, and Eliza didn't remember my nightmare. My eyes are filled with tears, my throat is tight, and I am unwell. Thanks, I hate it. I think you can relate.
Yeah, she said all the commentary that I was going to say. So yeah,
I know.
Thanks, I hate it.
We almost don't even have to be here.
No,
because they're saying all the things that I'm thinking anyway. But that is interesting. Caro only got one strange story, I guess you would call it, where she's just screaming right there. Are these stories of the house, of the land, or of the girl?
I don't know. But the fact that it got scary after she's like, oh, which one of these is yours?
And she just like smiled at her.
What if
this would be such a good like book?
It would. Write that down.
Yeah, y'all are good writers. Write it together. That's so good.
What if she is showing you all of the like things that she has caused? None of these are her story.
Oh, like she brings like a darkness onto people's lives.
Yeah.
And so like the first story was like an angry yelling. She was fighting with somebody.
And like, but she's just standing in the corner causing the anger.
Oh, that is scary.
And then she's like, oh,
which one of these is yours? And she's like all of them.
All of them.
They're
made all
my
of them.
Story.
Yeah.
That's so good. That's
I'm
so
scared.
So creepy. Add that to your book.
I was going to say, write that down.
This is back to Eliza. The next, I don't really remember when he appeared, and I don't remember when he disappeared. But this is only a little after that dream with the dark-haired girl. I would fall asleep on my side, but I would feel someone watching me. So I would turn over and meet the eyes of someone on my ceiling. I call him Mr. Nails because he had nails all over his body. Think of Hellraiser, but I had never watched that before.
I was thinking nails. Like,
oh, no. Like covered
Mr.
in
Nails. I was like, oh. No, but like
nails.
Industrial nails.
Used for construction.
Jesus. Okay.
Like Hellraiser.
That's so scary.
The difference is they weren't in straight lines and he was covered in blood. So much so that I couldn't tell you what color his skin or clothes were through it. I kept waiting for it to drip on me, but it never did. It was like there was a barrier between us. It was as if, for him, he was right side up and laying on his back. I knew if I broke eye contact, the barrier would break. He would maintain eye contact until I would fall asleep. I wasn't scared of him, and I wasn't grossed out. He just was. I would stay like that all night. I was getting maybe 2 hours of sleep. He never moved. He was just waiting. I know he was there for months, maybe longer. It was every night for a long time. I'm pretty sure he watched me even when I was asleep. Caro's notes. I have never seen Hellraiser and I just threw up in my mouth when Eliza showed me a picture. He's one of the stories. Our brother and I don't let Eliza tell us very often. There's something about him watching that makes my skin crawl.
Me too. This is horrible. Like you said, thanks. I hate it.
Eliza again. Trigger warning, mentions of self-harm, not graphic. My room is a mirror image of Caro's, so the layout is similar. I call this one the thing in the back corner. My light was broken, so I had to turn it on and off by unscrewing the light bulb. So anytime I came into my room at night, I would walk into a dark room. I did have a small light that I left on. He stayed in the corners. I never had a clear sight of him, but he was always watching me. He would move around whenever it was dark into different corners. I'm pretty sure he is the one who made me so angry all the time and influenced me to hurt myself. Caro here. As we were discussing this topic, Eliza just threw a pack of gum to distract my cat after I referenced an earlier comment and said, I can say that he liked blood. She looked at me and said, I just had deja vu and I needed to change the timeline. I don't remember throwing gum. So yay for terrifying.
Oh my God.
That's so interesting to like
I never thought.
alter the timeline with doing something random.
I never knew that was a thing because every time I have deja vu, I'm like, I know it's going to happen. And I just let it play out.
I know, me too. Why'd she need to change the timeline?
I don't know.
Anyway, the thing in the back corner is still the voice I hear telling me bad things about myself. And he still craves blood. There are 2 times that he prevented me from praying. Once was in my room and the other time was in the back garden. I couldn't utter the words of a prayer. I couldn't remember how to pray at all. And I couldn't speak any words for help. That is a demonic attack. Like I've heard people when they talk about demonic attacks will say that they'll prevent you from praying, from like asking God for help.
Because that's your defense. I mean,
yeah, that is so frightening. I'm so sorry. When I would try, there was just anger surrounding me. And it was as if my mouth forgot how to say the words. I was so scared because I couldn't talk. I laid on the floor for nearly an hour sobbing until I could speak the words my soul was crying out. Something was fighting the thing back and it wasn't me. The thing was the straw that broke the camel's back. I got tired of walking to my room being exhausted from school already and being scared I was going to be attacked. I started telling him, I've had a long day. Don't mess with me right now or I will punch you. This is the time that I was learning that we have authority over places and even a regular Christian had the ability to cast out demons through Christ. I had always thought it had to be a priest or a pastor or someone of more faith than me. One night I was fed up and I started saying, in the name of Jesus Christ and his power, get out of my room, get out of my house, leave me alone. I repeated that until the sun came back up and I knew he left. Until I cast the thing in the back corner, none of the animals would stay in my bedroom.
Oh my God.
Caro's notes. The thing in the back corner is real, even if I never saw him. I didn't like Eliza's room in the dark. Once I read my dreams to Eliza, she asked if I thought that it was strange that in both my dreams, there were 3 entities, the little demon and the characters in my room, comparing them to the girl, Mr. Nails, and the thing in the back corner. That's my analysis that makes my stomach hurt at the thought that they might have tried to touch me before they found the easier target. I don't like the 3s. And there's like these 3 monsters that's terrorizing Eliza and the 3 in each of Caro's dreams too.
Yeah.
That's an interesting connection. And
I wouldn't have made that unless they said it. It sounds like Eliza's are like pure terror and then Caro's was like, we're gonna mess with you. I would be so mad.
Well, maybe because Eliza's more open.
Yeah.
And Caro doesn't really have those experiences very often. So they were like, we can get more out of Eliza than we can out of Caro.
Woo. That's not good.
Back to Eliza. When we moved into my grandparents' old house, they moved about 30 minutes away into a more rural setting. Their house was older and had a field beside it. We used to go walking on the path that went around that field, but never through it. Once, with our cousins and Caro, we went into the woods behind the field and found an old house that had fallen nearly completely apart, and I stayed back from that house. They found a Polaroid that had been taken of the decrepit interior, a chair, and a table. We had been told that there were people who would sometimes sell illicit things in those woods, so we didn't stay for long, and we never went out there at night. Caro and I were house sitting, as we often did when our grandparents were away. We were in the kitchen chatting and singing, specifically Reckless Love by Corey Asbury. In the middle of our jam session, a loud bang hit the front door, less than a foot from where Caro was standing. I was looking at Caro standing in front of the door that led to the porch, and I didn't see anything as the sound hit. She was in the next room in seconds, and I grabbed a kitchen knife. We both crouched to the floor so no one would be able to see us through the door's window. That's when we realized we had forgotten to lock the door.
Oh my God.
Which was always supposed to be locked at night. Refer to earlier commentary on illicit wood activities by strangers. Caro crawled to the door and locked it, while I checked through all the windows for any sign of something that was that physically hit the door. There was nothing. Caro's note. I hate that one, but by God, we went back and finished that song and read some Bible verses. I couldn't tell you what hit the door, but it wasn't a light rock, and there was a large porch to get there. We both agreed in that moment, whatever it was, it didn't like our song.
Who sings that song? Oh yeah, let's keep it that way. You know what I'm talking about?
We had a story where she was singing in the shower.
Oh, and it said like, shut up.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Ugh, I hate that. Back to Eliza. The last time I stayed in that house was after Caro went away to college and I commuted from home. The evening was normal. There was nothing that made me more nervous than was usual in that house. I normally slept with the lamp on and a Bible hugging my chest. This time I had forgotten my Bible and I turned the lamp off as I went to bed. I fell asleep and, in my dream, I was in that house and woke up in my bed. On the ceiling was a creature that looked like a woman who was pale and gaunt with abnormally long limbs. I wasn't scared of her, which is abnormal because creatures that look like this are my worst fear. But I knew she was protecting me from something.
If that's the protector.
I know what's out there.
Oh my God.
I was just staring at her and she looked to the door. That's when I noticed the screaming, blood-curdling screaming heading towards me from outside. I didn't leave the bed, but I could see into the hallway, which was blocked by a wall in reality. I saw the door to the porch and a strong breeze coming in. There was a woman in a light dress with pale skin and flowing dark hair streaming behind her as she sprinted towards me. Her mouth was unhinged as she screamed. I knew she was coming to kill me. I started running to the door to try and close it before she could get there when she was on the porch. By the time I got to the door, I knew I wasn't going to be able to close it. She was willing the door to stay open, even as I was willing it to close. I reached the doorknob and was trying to push it closed as she got there. Her hand reached through the crack, trying to grab me. She was screaming the whole time. When she looked at me, her face had no eyes in it. She tried to shove her face through the door. She slid her hand back to try and push the door more, but I slammed it shut and locked it. That's when I woke up in the pitch black, still hearing the screams and unsure if I was awake or still asleep. I could feel her pacing outside of the windows, still trying to find a way inside, long after I woke up. Caro's notes. There was something trying to get into that house. It wasn't a banshee. We're both positive of that. But it was another dream where she was in the place where she was sleeping, and those are never just dreams. I don't like that it was looking for a way in. It was pacing outside all night to get in for the rest of the night, looking for a way in to get her. My other grandparents' house was the old summer home of a mill owner. It was built in 1887 and is 4,000 plus square feet. It was just recently renovated and looks wonderful, revitalized. But we knew it in its decrepit version. Everyone who's ever spent time there has a story from that house. We ran into my dad's old high school buddy, and he asked if my grandparents still lived in the haunted house. It's still for sale if you want to look through the Zillow listing.
And I will say,
I'm sorry, we won't share for privacy reasons, but
this is what I wanted. This is what I live for.
Seeing people's houses is Natalie's
bread
and butter.
All I want to do. So for the safety and for more people to send their address, we won't be sharing this. But I will tell you, I would buy that house in a heartbeat.
It's gorgeous.
Gorgeous, but definitely haunted. I would bet.
Definitely haunted. It's a beautiful home, but it's surrounded by woods. And if you go far enough, you'll find what looks like an old water treatment area. If you walk over a large pipe beside a small dam and the reservoir lakes, you can make it to the abandoned mills. For legal reasons, we have never been there, despite what my camera roll may lead you to believe. This story was terrifying in that moment, but compared with nearly everything else I've seen, it wasn't sinister. This time, I saw an angel. I was with one of our cousins and Caro, just walking through the woods as usual. We were discussing some story idea or another life event. I was scanning the trees and admiring the skyline. I saw a glowing being in white robes standing on the tip of a pine tree, which shouldn't have supported his weight. He stood there, looking out in the distance at something I couldn't see. I was struck with this absolute consuming terror of this creature. I knew he was not from here, and he was not there for us. I took off running. I knew he wasn't a threat to us, but I didn't want to be near him. That's when my butthead of a twin and cousin outpaced me, leaving me in the dust of my own terror. We made it back to the house before they turned around and asked me what happened. I told them there was someone on top of the tree in white.
I like how they just took off, no questions.
They're just like, okay, time to run.
That's so funny.
Caro's notes. Imagine this. You're hanging with your cousin and twin in the same place you always do, enjoying nature and each other's company, when suddenly your twin takes off sprinting back towards home. You don't know what's going on, but you are not going to be left alone with something that scared her that strongly. She's still mad that we beat her out of the woods.
Hey, I would be too.
I think we may have talked about this, about how sometimes, like especially stories like in the Bible and stuff, when people see angels or something of like of great power, like an angel, even if it's not a threatening being, it's too much frightening. Yeah. It's still scary to people.
Yeah.
It's just because it's too powerful. It's too much, you know?
I've heard that, and I always thought it was because like the biblically accurate angels, it's just like a bunch of eyes. Yeah, and I was like, well, duh.
I think it's just a manifestation of power, and
it's just too much for our earthly selves.
Yeah, maybe. That's my thought anyway. I don't know.
What do we know?
Back to Eliza. If you've made it to the end of these stories, just know we've been working on it for the last 6 hours through 4 background movies and 3 prayer breaks, and Caro's part was already written weeks ago. We hope that you aren't too spooked and can't wait to hear your thoughts on the twin connection and all the experiences. I hope everything made sense. We wrote a lot of it out of order, but tried to be careful with how we referenced other stories. We absolutely love the podcast. We both have listened to most of the videos multiple times. Thank you for making a place where we, especially Eliza, can feel less alone for our experiences. Thank you for keeping us company at work. It feels like working with friends rather than alone. Thank you for the awesome tea recommendations. You've gotten Caro into drinking tea, which she always disliked until giving it another shot after watching your reactions. She's been rating them if you want to know her thoughts. I do. We'd love to hear it. We can't wait to see how much more you grow and all the spooky stuff to come. Sending all the love to you and yours, Caro and Eliza. That was great.
Wow. Write a book together.
Yeah.
And tell us when you write it and let us purchase it.
Yes, we will buy your book and read it.
We'll have a live reading. I loved everything. They had fantastic stories, twins, scary things, Zillow.
This was like the perfect story for Natalie. Like if you could create something perfectly to fit your needs, that was it. I knew you'd love it.
I
knew
have no
it.
notes.
As soon as I read it, I was like, Natalie is going to eat this up.
I have no notes. I feel good. Is this how people feel when they listen to us? Because if it is, you're welcome. Because I loved that.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking over 6 hours to put this together because it was so worth it for me anyway.
That's so cute. And they all got to like get together and watch movies. Like that was good.
And everyone, let us know what you think of teas, what your favorite teas are, what you've been drinking. If you drink our teas, I want to know if you're drinking the teas with us, because we do post it ahead of time.
Mm-hmm.
Let us know what you think too. I love to hear y'all's opinions.
Yeah, me too.
But thank you so much for sending that in. We've got just a few more stories.
That was so good.
To round this out. Our next story comes from Meagan. Hello to you both. I hope you guys had a great holiday. I can't wait to catch up on all the podcasts going back to work. And feel free to share this and the story below if you would like to on the podcast. We would. Thank you. You guys are really doing something special with this community you've built. Last June, I had to suddenly quit my nursing job due to being asked to do things outside of my scope of practice, then being shamed for not being a team player.
I've heard that.
I have too.
From a lot of people.
I started my nursing career in the emergency room in 2019, right before COVID hit. So after this being my third job in 4 years, I was ready to leave nursing entirely. My friend then introduced me to contract nursing, and now I drive all over Texas to give IgG infusions to patients in their homes. It was scary and lonely at first, but then I discovered your podcast. You guys have the perfect level of spooky and coziness while also being very personable and funny. You guys make these super long drives so much less lonely. And the listener stories also feel like we are all just at a sleepover exchanging spooky stories over the campfire. You both seem like such kind and genuine souls.
Aww, that's so nice.
That was really nice. That was like fed my soul.
Yeah, that
Thank you.
Made me want to cry. Also, Texas, yeehaw.
So in my early 20s, I was going down a not so great path while in nursing school. I had this boyfriend who was much older than me. He had a kid that he no longer had custody of, and little did I know, a drug problem. What can I say? I was young, dumb, and naive. Anyways, the reason I give backstory on this is so you understand that he had this darkness around him. Bad things happened to him. A lot. He actually almost died after we broke up because he flew through a windshield after a night of partying. He's fine now, had a broken hip, but walks fine.
Ooh.
One night, we both were cuddling in bed after watching the movie Django. We were at his house. The rest of the family was not home at the time. I rolled over to lay on his chest while the DVD player kept playing the Django music over and over. Then, almost as if it was in the room with us, a loud, hushed whisper almost shouts his name, Nico. I felt that awful, cold chill run down the back of my neck. Are you okay?
Kayla's dog's name.
My eyes shot open and I turned to look at his face. His eyes were wide open, staring straight up at the ceiling. I whispered to him, "Did you hear that?" He didn't so much as move a muscle. He very quietly whispered, "Yes." I immediately got up to turn the light on, telling him I was going to sleep in my dorm tonight instead. He agreed and walked me to my car. We didn't speak of the event ever after that day until maybe a few weeks later when we were on the phone. I asked him if I could ask him a question. I asked him if he heard the voice whisper his name. He once again said, "Yes." The line went dead. It took a minute, but he called me back and he was like, "The power just went out randomly in our house." And I got really scared and I was like, okay, we can't talk about this ever again. Way later, sometime in person, we did talk about it. And that was when he told me his mom had taken him a few years ago to someone who practiced what he called Santeria. I know very little about this myself, but all that is relevant to this because he and his family are Catholic. But they took him there because they thought he had something demonic attached to him. What prompted his mom to take him was them finding 3 scratches on his mid-back. He said he got some sort of blessing, and he was convinced at the height of his addiction to pills, he thought something was following him and doing weird things around him.
Oh my God.
He would say often that bad luck and turmoil seemed to follow him. And mind you, when I was with him, it was a very, very dark time in my life too. And part of me thinks whatever darkness was around him may have attacked me too. Because it was when I was with him, I started to experience night terrors.
Oh.
Not paralysis. Like full on, I would wake up screaming and kicking and fighting. I see various types of hallucinations. Most of the time, I see giant versions of bugs, shapes, and various shadows. The first night terror I had was after my ex and I watched the Blair Witch Project. Not my first time watching it. I fell asleep and I remember opening my eyes and seeing something shaped like a person, but it was glowing like a bright orange. And I could see particles of light moving all around the shape. Like I couldn't see any features, just the silhouette of a person, but with glowing light and particles. It started walking towards me and I woke up screaming because it was reaching its hand out to me. And I just remember getting out of bed to run. But when I really came to, I was just screaming in bed. She put LOL so you can laugh.
I'm not laughing out of like hee hee ha ha. I'm laughing because I'm like, oh my God, dude.
The worst thing I ever saw was a young girl with dark hair standing over me. I actually pushed my now husband off the bed because I was so afraid I went in full flight mode. I mean, she was literally standing directly over my face. I literally feel sick just thinking about it because I thought someone had broken in.
Me too.
Lately, they have been happening less and less, and I haven't seen anything human-like in a few years. But still, sometimes I wake up screaming, thinking a giant ant is on my wall. Or some giant amoeba-looking thing is floating in front of me. The amount of times my poor husband helped me hunt what I swear was a wasp or roach, just to realize I may have just had another night terror. I'll take the bugs over seeing people any day, though. Sorry that was long, just something that I thought you might find interesting. I also have an experience with a possible mimic in my childhood home if you'd like to hear that story. Keep up the hard work. You guys truly make my drives feel less lonely. Wishing everyone a happy new year. Again, feel free to share some or all of this.
Yes, we would.
That man that she was with,
Stay away.
he has a darkness.
Stay
No,
away.
I'm glad that you got away and you're now happy and married and living your life.
Me
But
too.
I hope he found help
Me too. Really bad.
because that is terrifying.
It really
He
is.
doesn't even want it to talk about it.
I know. It's too much. It's too much. If I'm like envisioning if that was me and I turned to Ryan for like reassurance and he's just like, yes. And he's scared.
She was like, okay, going away, staying at my own dorm. See
I
ya.
know.
Goodbye.
I know. I mean, good for you for leaving. But the fact that he's just like, okay, and gonna be by himself.
See you later.
I'd be like, please take me with you.
Yeah,
Also, Nico is our sister's dog's name.
it is. Kayla watching this, and all of a sudden we say, Nico.
So
That's
Kayla, text us if you're here.
Our next one comes from Liliana. Hello, Ghosties. I know Natalie is a big fan of ghost pets, so I decided to share my own. However, this is not a pleasant story, but a dark one. This is my first dark encounter.
The way I was like, woo!
No, we're talking about demons, remember?
Oh my God.
Okay, you ready?
No.
When I was about 5 or 6 years old, my older sister, 14 at the time, got a puppy. He was so cute. His name was Oso, or Bear, because he was black and fluffy. I was so happy and excited because he was our first family pet. I quickly became attached to him. He would follow me around everywhere I went. This is a little bit of a sad story and doesn't end well for the pet.
Oh my God. I would like to skip.
And as soon as I would get home, we would play together. A few months passed and I arrived home ready to play with Oso. However, I soon found out he was not feeling well. He kept on vomiting and he was just there curled up in a ball. I asked my mom what was wrong with him and she said that he might have eaten something bad in the morning because he can't stop throwing up. The next day, I woke up to go to the bathroom. It was really early in the morning. The sun was already coming up and I noticed Oso was not on his usual spot near the bathroom. So I made my way to the living room where there are French doors with windows. I noticed in the corner of my eye that my mom was outside in the backyard. I stopped and looked closely at what she was doing. She had a shovel and was digging. As I was watching her dig, I was trying to understand what was happening. To my right side in the dark by the dining room, there were 2 red eyes lurking beneath a chair. It was watching me. This thing was really black and looked like the size of Oso. So I called it, Oso, and it growled. I kept on watching it from a distance, not knowing what to do or how to react because Oso does not have red eyes and never had he growled at me. When it comes to the paranormal, I often freeze. So I was just there, frozen, making eye contact with this thing. Anyway, after he growled, I looked towards my mom and I see her get Oso, bury him in the ground and cover him with soil. I looked back at the red eyes and it had disappeared. I then realized that Oso was dead and I had no idea what I had seen. I watched my mom finish burying Oso and I just sat there on the ground watching her come towards the house. I asked her, where's Oso? And she said he died because he ate something that poisoned him. I did not tell my mom what I saw. I kept it to myself for years, not because I was afraid, but because I don't know what to think of it. As an adult now looking back, I actually do get scared of my recollections. I feel as if I think of it or talk about it, I will bring it back to my life. I know that there is a lot of folklore surrounding the black dog with red eyes. I know this might sound silly, but I am afraid to do my own research about this. Please let me know your thoughts on this. I really don't know what to think about it because I had never seen or heard anything like this ever again. Love your pod. Liliana. So sad. R.I.P. Oso.
Yeah, I don't like that story. That hurts me.
But there is like lore behind the dog, black dog with red eyes.
Is there?
Yeah, there's like, I think it's called a hellhound.
Uh-huh. I've heard that.
And it's like in folklore, it's like surrounding like death and misfortune and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it brings death and misfortune or if it just comes
Shows up.
to death and misfortune.
Mm-hmm.
So that's creepy. Maybe we should look more into that.
That
It's
was
sad.
a really
Really
sad one. I didn't.
So we do have another sad one. Our last story, extremely sad and upsetting. It ends, I think, on a higher note, and that's why I put it at the end. And that's one of the reasons I put it in here because it gets a little heavy. It's getting into topics that like I'm a little uncomfortable to talk about here on the podcast because we're a family-friendly podcast for the most part. You know, we rarely talk about things that, you know, can't be talked about in front of minors.
Yes.
This one has talks of abuse, abortion, and just darker themes all around. So if that is not something for you, totally get it. We will see you next time. We love you. Skip it. Save your mental health. Always look after yourself.
Yes.
But we will now move on to our last story from Sally. Hi, Macy and Natalie. I absolutely love the podcast and binge every episode while I work. My best friend showed me y'all's podcast and we are absolutely obsessed. I've been debating on sending this in because of some of the topics and content and how personal it is. But as part of a spiritual healing I'm doing, I decided to send this in. To give fair warning, some parts of this are not exactly happy and a controversial topic, and I am leaving it up to you both to decide if you want to share this or not. Again, like I said, skip. We're going to be talking about some really dark content, but it does have what I see as a lighter ending.
I don't remember exactly what this is about because
I did read this one to Natalie a while back to see what she thought too, because I was debating back and forth. But
yeah,
again, like we said in a few episodes ago, people are sending in their stories. It's a part of her healing.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's good to share stories with the community.
And because the people in our comments are usually so kind and supportive of everyone in the story. So I personally was like, yeah, we can include anything that's like dark or sad or anything because it could help the person that wrote in. So I don't remember exactly what this one is.
The person that wrote in or someone else who may experience the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
We're diving in deep right here, right now. So to start this off, a bit of background. When I was 11 years old, I was sexually assaulted that led to a pregnancy. I did get an abortion. I won't say much else other than I wish I would have talked to my parents when it first happened and maybe the following events wouldn't have happened. After I no longer had my baby, whom I'll refer to as CJ, I had a lot of guilt and felt like I needed to make sure that the spirit and soul of my baby knew that the choice I made wasn't anything to do with them and how sorry I was. And I regretted what I did because I never got to meet them and they were constantly on my mind. I had been struggling with my faith since my parents got divorced when I was 7 and being raised in a Roman Catholic church following Opus Dei doctrine, which did not help the following events. I was singled out by the priest and my Sunday school teacher for the sins of my parents' divorce and was constantly made to feel like I was going to hell because I was now part of a broken home. That takes a toll on a young child. I am so sorry that you experienced
not okay.
any of that. And the adults in your life should have, especially at your church, should have been better to you. At around 14, I reached a point of guilt where I needed to do whatever possible to make up for my sins against my unborn child. I began to dabble in witchcraft and was led down a road of black magic and messing with things I had no business messing with, especially when I didn't know what I was doing at all. I was practicing a form of spiritual communication to try to see CJ. In the process of doing so, I began speaking to a spirit that I thought was trying to help me with my practice and in seeing my baby. I became obsessed. Every day for almost 2 years, I spoke to this entity, which slowly got me to a comfortable point, sharing the truths of my spirit with it, which was not a good idea. The last few months leading up to this incident, things got intense. Ideas were being planted in my head that the only true way I could see and hold my baby, something I never got to do, was to take my own life. The only thing that really stopped me and brought me to clarity was every time these thoughts occurred, a cardinal would start to sing outside my window. Bit of context. My grandfather loved cardinals and would always tell me, cardinals appear when angels are near. So I knew when I saw that cardinal, it was my grandfather showing me that taking my own life was not the answer. At that point, I was in so deep, I didn't know how to stop. And I still had a lot of guilt, which I definitely believe was being amplified and fed on by this thing or entity I was communicating with. A month after I turned 16 and got my driver's license, I was on my way to an appointment going up a state highway. The speed limit was 60 and I was doing between 55 and 60. So within the speed limit, but not driving like an old lady. I was coming across an intersection when I saw a dark shadow that looked like a man standing next to the stoplight post. And I didn't fully understand what I was seeing at the time, but now I do. I was coming to the point where if that light had been yellow, I would have stopped because I wasn't going to make it through this intersection. But when I looked up at the light, it was green. All of a sudden, I hear a horn blaring, getting louder and louder. I look to my left and see headlights coming at me. I knew I was going to get T-boned, so I threw my arms over my face to shield myself as much as possible. And the last thing I saw before the other vehicle hit me was the shadow of a person with black eyes, the white puff of the airbags deploying. I was hit by a diesel work truck that was carrying a 14-ton load in the back going 30 miles an hour and got T-boned on my passenger side. By the grace of God, I was still alive. I was pushed into the oncoming traffic lane, which just so happened to be the opposite side of where the truck that hit me was coming from, and a police officer was there that immediately jumped into action. I had broken out my window because I thought my car was on fire from the airbags going off. She somehow managed to break out my back window and crawl in behind me and hold my neck stable. I somehow managed because my entire back seat was crushed. Part of my dash, including my steering wheel and parts of my stereo, were in the back, and the passenger side of my car was gone. My car was a hatchback, and after getting hit, the hatchback of my car was gone. The only part of my car that was untouched was the driver's side. As the police officer was keeping my neck stable and EMS was using the jaws of life to get my door open and get me out, I saw a cardinal sitting on the roof of the police car that very luckily just so happened to be on the opposite side. I knew then that the only reason my seat of the car was untouched was because my guardian angel, my grandfather, was there protecting me. The entire way to the hospital in the back of the ambulance, I was being told that I shouldn't be conscious. They have no clue how my neck wasn't snapped from the force of the truck hitting me, and that it was a miracle my little Ford wasn't flattened and flipped on its side by the force of the truck hitting me. Not the best thing for a young teenage girl to hear whose only thought is, I need to call my mom and tell her I'm okay.
Aww.
I'll interject this here. I came out of the accident walking, talking, breathing, a bit banged up, bruised and shaken up, some decent whiplash, a minor concussion, but overall, I was going to be fine. I stayed in the hospital over the weekend for observation because of how serious the crash was and how serious my injuries should have been. The ER doctors kept checking for internal bleeding every couple of hours. The first night in the hospital after being triaged, seeing my parents and my sister and getting some much needed hugs and medication to help my body relax and let me sleep, I was visited by my grandfather. This was the first time I had a dream of him that wasn't a memory, and the first time I saw him outside of a cardinal. He sat on the edge of my hospital bed and stroked my hair, and a wave of calm and peace washed over me. He told me he was always going to be there watching over me, and he will be my faith when I'm struggling to find mine. He told me that as long as I had my faith in my soul, love in my heart, and compassion in my mind, it didn't matter how I practiced my faith or if I believed in all the teachings, because those three things would be enough.
Why am I crying?
I'm about to cry. I told my grandfather that I just wanted to see CJ. He said all I had to do was ask. So I asked my grandfather if I could see him. He looked towards the door, and there, standing with my baby, who looked about 4 years old, which was how old he would have been at the time, holding hands with my older brother, whom was a rainbow baby, and I never got to meet. But I knew it was him because I used to play with him as a child and thought he was an imaginary friend for a long time. Another story if you'd like to hear. And for the first time, I got to see and hold my baby. After that, something broken inside of me was healed, and I felt my faith come back into my heart. I still struggle with my faith, and when I do, I look out my living room window to the tree right outside my balcony and see 3 cardinals sitting there. I know things are going to be okay. Thanks so much for reading if you did. I understand if maybe not, because this is kind of a heavy and not a happy topic. Again, I love the podcast and it's a highlight of my week. I do have some other stories, some scary, some happy, some in between. If you'd like to hear more, I'm happy to share. Now, I'm sorry that was so heavy. And Sally, I'm so sorry that you went through all of that. It was a beautiful story. And we talked about so much darkness today. And Sally went through so much darkness that it felt necessary almost.
I agree.
To put it in.
I agree.
The light and happiness and the love from her grandfather. And I'm so glad you're still here today.
Me too. That is probably the most beautiful story we've ever read.
Yeah, I agree.
One of the best ones I've ever heard. I'm so glad everything turned out okay.
Well, she did. I emailed her, just chatting with her for a little bit. And she said, the thing that I didn't mention and the scariest part was when my mom and I were on the phone with the insurance company and discussing the street camera footage of the accident. It showed I had a red light while everyone else said all the lights of the 4-way intersection were green, including the police officer who was stationary at the intersection who watched the whole thing happen. And when they went to investigate to see if someone had messed with the system, the footage was gone. To this day, my mother won't talk about it.
Oh my God.
So the witnesses on the scene said it was green.
Yeah. And so we think it's the thing that she had been contacting
that told her that it would help her and didn't.
Oh my God.
Ends happily. And I'm glad that you saw your grandfather.
Yeah, me too. And your baby and your brother. And it's just, they're all together.
I know. So that is where we will end today. I'm sorry. We ended so dark, but I hope.
No, we ended on a happy note.
Yeah. And I hope Sally feels even the smallest bit better being able to get it out there and share her story. And I hope maybe someone out there who can relate to Sally's life in some way feels a relief that they're not alone.
Yeah. And if y'all want, I'm sure Sally will be watching, so you can leave a kind comment or
leave kind words in the comments for Sally and all of the other people who wrote in today, because it takes a lot to send in your story. We've had a couple people who sent in that were like, I just don't feel comfortable sharing out there because the world can be a cruel place.
Yes. We've had some good stories that people don't want us to read that we've only got to hear personally because of like them being afraid of ridicule or people commenting mean things. Yeah. So always be kind.
It's good to always be kind. Always. No matter the situation.
I agree.
But we hope you enjoyed this month of themed listener stories. Maybe we'll return. Maybe we'll have some themed listener stories throughout the year too, because it was fun to kind of have a cohesive plot for the story.
That follows.
And
Woo!
we'll be back on Thursday with another Listener Stories episode. So look forward to that. Like this video if you liked it. Share it with your friends if you feel compelled to do so. And subscribe to see more. See Thursday's episode. And coming back Monday, we'll be talking about our field trip.
If you're on Instagram, you probably already know.
Yeah. We put little hints of where we were on Instagram.
A big hint.
But yeah, we're really excited about that. Oh, so follow us on Instagram. It's at GhosteasPod. And if you have a story you'd like to share, you can send it in to us. It's ghosteaspod@gmail.com. It's written in the description. Make sure you spell it right because some people have had trouble sending them in. We do have a very, very long list of listener stories, but we will get to you. And like I said, we might jump around here and there. Stay spooky, everybody. We'll see you Thursday.
Goodbye.